Listen up, dear friends. Let me tell you about a land whispered by the earth, the water, and the wind long ago. Its name is Babylon. It got its name from the massive walls covered in golden bricks that shimmered under the moonlight. This was a civilization established in the heart of Mesopotamia, on the fertile lands nurtured by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. But Babylon wasn't just a city, it was a place where gods breathed, kings ruled with justice, scholars studied the stars, and secrets were buried in deep wells. Imagine strolling through the streets of Babylon. Wide roads, towering temples, soaring ziggurats, lush gardens, and enchanting melodies heard at every corner. Yes, my friends, life in Babylon never stopped. Once this city was full of stories as old as the stars, and as an old sage, I've heard them all and seen them all. But before I begin telling you about Babylon, ask yourself this question: why Babylon? Why has this city been the subject of poems, stories, and myths for thousands of years? Why do people still close their eyes in admiration and drift away when they hear the name Babylon? The answer lies in the soul of Babylon. There, beneath the warm sands, history itself is sleeping. According to legend, Babylon's founding was a result of the god's desires. It is said that the god Marduk wanted to create a city where people would live together and build temples in his honor. This small village on the banks of the Euphrates River became the god's favorite. And that small village eventually turned into a massive empire. So how did this happen? Through wars, love, intrigues, and great alliances. Babylon was, above all, a product of a dream, a place where gods and people could live together. Now close your eyes and imagine. At the meeting place of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, beneath the soil, try to sense the spirit of a city that has been quietly waiting for thousands of years. Start to hear a faint echo like the distant sound of a bell. That echo is Babylon's call, a voice reaching you from the depths of the past. Follow that voice, for on this journey, even the stones of Babylon will whisper their own stories to you, one by one. And now, come. Let's step together through the gates of Babylon. Let's begin to explore the stone tablets where Hammurabi's laws were inscribed, Nebuchadnezzar's hanging gardens that reached the sky, the hymns echoing in the temples, the goods brought from distant lands by traders, and the people walking through the gleaming streets. Are you ready, my friends? Because Babylon is waiting for you with hundreds of secrets hidden behind its stones, walls, and stars. And so, as the gates of Babylon open before you, our story begins. Hold on tight, for as we flow through the passage of time, be ready to get lost in the memories carried by the wind and sand. Babylon's legends and truths will speak to you. Let's go. Let the voice of the past reach our ears. Ah, Babylon, the city chosen by the gods, a land of abundance and wisdom. It was almost like a paradise set between the arms of two great rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris. Mesopotamia literally means land between the rivers. And these two rivers, like blood flowing through Babylon's veins, gave it life and nourished its spirit. Imagine this in your mind's eye. The Euphrates River winding like a great serpent, watering and greening the surrounding lands. The Tigris was fiercer and stronger. It rushed down from the mountains and marked Babylon's northern boundaries. These two rivers didn't just bring water, they brought wealth, trade, and life to Babylon. In those times, rivers weren't just channels of water as they are today, they were trade routes and arteries where cultures met. Babylon, situated on the riverbanks, became the heart not only of Mesopotamia but almost of the entire world. Mesopotamia was also like a bridge. It was a route where trade caravans, warriors, and travelers passed between the east and the west. Imagine, dear friends, traders from distant lands bringing silks, spices, and exotic animals to Babylon's markets with their camels. Every corner of the city had its own story on one side, precious stones from a trader from India on the other. verses written by a poet on a papyrus scroll from Egypt. Babylon, with the fertility provided by the rivers, also thrived in agriculture. The waters of the Euphrates and the Tigris nourished crops and made the land fertile. Indeed, wheat fields around Babylon glowed like yellow gold. The people of Babylon saw this abundance as a blessing from the gods. They offered sacrifices to their gods, especially Marduk, and held harvest festivals. For they knew that without these fertile lands, Babylon's greatness would remain merely a dream. But Babylon's significance in Mesopotamia extended far beyond agriculture. Look, dear friends, the lands of Mesopotamia were filled with clay and stone. Babylonian craftsmen shaped those stones, molded the spirit of the clay, and built colossal structures. These structures weren't just buildings, they were altars for the gods, thrones for the kings, and homes for the people. And in the heart of Babylon, there was a magnificent city. Rising in the center of the city was Itamananki, the Tower of Babylon. This colossal structure that challenged the sky was a symbol of Babylon's power. No matter which direction you looked, Babylon's grandeur was on display. The Tower of Babylon was, on one hand, a symbol of closeness to the gods, and on the other, a display of the unity and strength of the Babylonian people. But what made Babylon special wasn't just its structures, dear friends. Babylon, with its strategic location in the heart of Mesopotamia, was a trade center. Here, caravans from the Silk Road stretching from east to west, traders from distant lands and various peoples came together, exchanging goods and sharing cultures. Babylon was like a melting pot. Languages mixed and ideas flourished. That's why Babylon was the heart of Mesopotamia, because this place was not only fertile in soil but also in spirit. Here people spoke with the gods, consulted the stars, and made great decisions. And that's why Babylon always endured, always lived until the winds of time and history carried it away to other places. Babylon's geographical position and importance in Mesopotamia made it more than just a city, it made it a legend. And today we continue to trace the traces of that legend. Let's dive a bit deeper now. Stories hidden between Babylon's stones and buried beneath the sands are waiting for us. The story of Babylon stretches back to the earliest days of the civilizations that arose in Mesopotamia. In the beginning, the vast lands of Mesopotamia were home to various tribes. These lands were a stage where many peoples, such as the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Assyrians, were born, grew, and competed with each other. But Babylon was destined to be one of the most striking characters in this story. Babylon's origins began as a small village in the middle of Mesopotamia. Legends say that this village was a place protected by the gods. Its lands were fertile, and its people were brave. The village was filled with a handful of farmers and shepherds. This small community worked their fields in the mornings and offered sacrifices to the gods under the stars at night. However, the village's ordinariness was about to change with the arrival of the god Marduk speaking to the people. The god Marduk. He was the protector and greatest deity of Babylon. It is said that one night Marduk appeared to the people in their dreams and said, "A great city will rise in these lands. This city will be the center of the world. All regions will admire its name." And thus began Babylon's journey. The people took Marduk's words as a command and immediately set to work. First, they built massive walls around the village. Because Mesopotamia was not only about fertile lands but also a region of fierce battles and invasions, the people of Babylon worked day and night to secure the walls. Huge walls made of earth and stone rose, and behind these walls, a people dedicated to Marduk's words grew. The small village quickly transformed into a growing town and then into a city. But Babylon's story doesn't end there. As the city grew, so did its people's thirst for knowledge, power, and exploration. One of Babylon's early leaders, Sumuabum was among those who spearheaded this transformation. When Sumuabum ascended to the throne as Babylon's first king, he did more than just protect his people, he also changed the city's destiny. He strengthened the thick walls surrounding the city, built temples in the city center, and laid the foundations for making Babylon the trade and cultural center of Mesopotamia. However, Sumuabum's efforts alone were not enough. Other leaders also emerged to increase Babylon's power. Many kings passed through until the great Hammurabi, who established the city's first legal codes and taught the people justice and order. Hammurabi succeeded in turning Babylon from just a city into the capital of an empire. During his reign, Babylon began to rule over all of Mesopotamia. Hammurabi's laws showed that he wanted to govern Babylon not just with military power but with justice as well. The foundation of Babylon is not just a story of a village growing. It is a story of a people's faith, courage, and determination. With the blessing of Marduk, Babylon always sought something new and kept moving forward. As the city grew, so did its spirit with its faith in the gods, justice, and a people steeped in wisdom. Babylon became the brightest star of Mesopotamia. Babylon's roots were deeply embedded in the land of Mesopotamia. These roots were nourished by the gods' words, the people's courage, and the leaders' vision. The founders of Babylon shone like a light in this dark age of history, leaving a great hope for the future with this city rising in the heart of Mesopotamia. And that hope echoed through Babylon's stones, inscriptions, and myths for centuries. So, dear friends, this is the story of Babylon's origins and foundation. A city rising under the guidance of the gods, the fruit of courage, wisdom, and faith, Babylon's birth. Now let's delve a little deeper into this great civilization. We'll talk about Babylon's first leader, Hammurabi, and his justice-filled laws. Let's see how this leader shaped Babylon. Dear friends, close your eyes and take a journey to Babylon's lands around the 18th century BC. At that time, there were many small kingdoms and city-states in the fertile lands of Mesopotamia. But among these kingdoms, one star was shining brightly: Babylon. Babylon's name was not yet known throughout the world, but soon the foundations of a great kingdom would be laid. Babylon's first kingdom was a period when a dream became reality. At that time, a leader in Babylon embarked on a grand mission that would change the destiny of his people, Sumuabum. Sumuabum became known as the founder and first king of Babylon. He was not just a ruler but also a visionary. As the city transformed from a village into a kingdom, Sumuabum's strategic thinking and bold steps would turn it into a great power. Under Sumuabum's leadership, Babylon was no longer just a village, but began to be a kingdom affecting a vast region. Sumuabum conquered the small cities around Babylon, thus expanding its borders. With these conquests, Babylon became the center of Mesopotamian trade routes. The city, benefiting even more from the bounty provided by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, became a wealthy economic center. But establishing a kingdom isn't just about conquering lands, dear friends. The foundations of a kingdom are also built on order and justice. Here, another significant figure in Babylon's history comes into play: Sumuabum's grandson, the great ruler Hammurabi. Hammurabi is considered one of Babylon's first true emperors, and his reign marked the beginning of Babylon's golden age. Hammurabi's era was a time when Babylon reached the peak, not only of military power but also of law and order. Hammurabi developed a series of laws to ensure justice in the city. These laws, known throughout history as the Code of Hammurabi, hold a crucial place in Mesopotamian legal history. Hammurabi's laws were a comprehensive system designed to establish justice in society. These laws covered not only crime and punishment but also trade, family relations, and property issues. Hammurabi's laws, based on the principle of an eye for an eye, introduced a sense of justice affecting all segments of society. Another important aspect of Hammurabi's rule was his focus on cultural development and scientific advancements. Babylon became a major center for scientific and cultural progress. Significant developments occurred in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Babylon's libraries, filled with knowledge and culture, illuminated not only their own era but also the wisdom of subsequent periods. The establishment of the First Babylonian Kingdom began with Sumuabum's bold steps and reached its peak with Hammurabi's just rule. This kingdom not only spread the light of culture, science, and justice beyond a mere piece of land, but also became the heart of Mesopotamia, a center of wisdom and civilization. Now, dear friends, let's delve deeper into this magnificent history of Babylon. As we discuss the kingdom's growth, wealth, and influence, we will better understand the value of these lands. Let's now take a look at Babylon's military power and conquests, and how Hammurabi's legal reforms impacted society. Dear friends, close your eyes and find yourself within the majestic walls of Babylon in the heat of Mesopotamia. During its time as the capital, the city's chaos and the development of civilization were shaped by a great leader. This leader was Hammurabi, whose name is written in golden letters in history. Hammurabi was not only a ruler but also a legal reformer who laid the foundations of society. Hammurabi's name has been synonymous with justice for centuries. So what kind of governance did this great ruler develop in Babylon? Hammurabi's most famous contribution was his Code of Laws. For the society of that time, these laws served as a guide, a set of regulations that helped ensure justice, equality, and order. Known as the Code of Hammurabi, these laws were not merely inscriptions on a stone, they were a system that profoundly affected society's way of life, social structure, and state administration. Hammurabi's laws were inscribed on a series of stone stelae around 1754 BC, bringing justice and order to the people of Babylon. However, the underlying principle of these laws was not only punishment, but also the maintenance of social harmony and order. According to these laws, offenders would be punished, but societal relationships would also be balanced. By establishing a balance between crime and punishment, Hammurabi aimed to ensure the security and justice of society. The Code of Hammurabi contained many different rules that defined social structure. For example, regulations concerning property ownership and trade were created to maintain economic order. Detailed provisions addressed how disputes related to agriculture, livestock, and trade were to be resolved. If someone stole another person's property, they had to repay twice the value of the stolen goods. This ensured the protection of property rights and prevented unjust enrichment. Hammurabi's laws also regulated family relationships. Issues such as inheritance, divorce, and childcare were defined by the laws. For instance, when a man divorced his wife, the rights given to the woman were arranged to ensure her livelihood. This was a measure aimed at protecting both the woman and the child. Another important feature of Hammurabi's laws was ensuring that justice was applied equally to all segments of society. Although the laws distinguished between social classes, they sought to establish a standard for administering justice. For example, if a slave committed a crime, their punishment could be different, but the rights of the slave were protected within certain limits. Hammurabi's approach to governance extended beyond the application of laws. He was also influential in urban planning, large public projects, and the construction of temples. During Hammurabi's reign, Babylon became not only a government center but also a cultural and religious hub. The major construction projects in the city not only improved the welfare of the people but also symbolized Babylon's power. Temples were not only places of worship but also centers that strengthened social unity in the city. The Code of Hammurabi has been remembered throughout history as a symbol of justice and order. These laws were influential not only in Babylon but also in other regions of Mesopotamia, inspiring subsequent civilizations. Hammurabi's understanding of justice is considered a comprehensive strategy for organizing society, and his contributions in this field have laid the foundational stones of law. This great transformation in Babylon's history was made possible by Hammurabi's vision and laws. Hammurabi was not just a ruler but also became a symbol of justice and order in history. His laws strengthened Babylon's military, social, and cultural power. Now, dear friends, let's take a closer look at the cultural and economic developments of the city following this glorious period and its impact on Mesopotamia. Dear friends, close your eyes and let your thoughts wander through the magnificent streets of Babylon. During Hammurabi's time, the land of Babylon was not confined to just its city limits. This great ruler's vision aimed to transform Babylon from a city into an empire. To achieve this goal, Hammurabi pursued a bold strategy filled with expansion policies and conquests. Hammurabi's expansion policies were shaped not only by military power but also by diplomacy and strategy. To bring the surrounding small kingdoms and city-states under his influence, Hammurabi embarked on military campaigns. These conquests allowed Babylon to control not only its territory but also strategic points in the region. By seizing the agricultural wealth and trade routes provided by the Euphrates and Tigris rivers, Babylon's economic power was enhanced. Hammurabi's conquests were not limited to military successes. They also expanded Babylon's cultural and commercial influence. Hammurabi implanted Babylon's cultural values, laws, and traditions in the conquered territories. This integration ensured that the local populations adopted Babylonian culture and extended Babylon's influence over a broad area. However, the impact of conquests and expansion policies was not limited to military and cultural effects. Hammurabi's strategy also considered the long-term effects of these conquests. By establishing an administrative structure in the conquered regions, he ensured centralized management of these lands. Hammurabi founded new cities, expanded existing ones, and created regional governance systems. Thus, Babylon's dominance was reinforced in these territories, and they came under Babylonian control. Another important aspect of Hammurabi's expansion policies was his military strategies. Hammurabi used not only his military strength but also his strategic acumen during his conquests. By targeting city defenses, military bases, and strategic points, he ensured the success of his campaigns. This not only increased Babylon's military strength, but also made it more difficult for other kingdoms in the region to resist Babylon. In addition to conquests and expansion policies, Hammurabi's control over regional trade routes was also a significant achievement. Recognizing the strategic importance of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers, Hammurabi took control of the trade routes surrounding these rivers. This increased Babylon's economic power and facilitated trade between Babylon and other cities in the region. Babylon's expansion through these conquests was not just a military success, but also a cultural and economic triumph. Thanks to Hammurabi's strategies and leadership, Babylon became one of the most powerful and influential empires in not just Mesopotamia, but the entire region. Hammurabi's expansion policies and conquests marked a significant turning point in Babylon's history, and the achievements of this period strengthened the city's long-term impact and power. Now, dear friends, let's delve deeper into the social and cultural developments of Babylon following Hammurabi's great conquests and examine the impact of these expansions on the people. To understand the social and cultural reflections of this magnificent period in Babylon's history, we will explore how this expansion affected the people. Dear friends, close your eyes and envision yourself wandering through the streets of Babylon. Imagine that during a time of great change, the city's fate was about to be shaped by the Kassites. To understand this period, I will explain how the Kassites arrived in Babylon, established their rule, and how this change reflected upon society. Around 1595 BCE, following the end of Hammurabi's powerful reign in Babylon, the city fell into a state of great uncertainty. Amidst this chaos, a group known as the Kassites set their sights on Babylon's rich lands. The Kassites were a people from northeastern Mesopotamia, with origins in the mountainous regions of central Mesopotamia. They were known for their warrior nature and military skills. The wealth and strategic position of Babylon made it an attractive target for the Kassites. When the Kassites conquered Babylon, they did so with a significant military force. This conquest marked the end of Babylon's previous administration and cultural heritage. The strategies employed by the Kassites during this conquest involved both military and diplomatic maneuvers. They breached the city's walls and took control of the governmental buildings, swiftly establishing their dominance over Babylon. However, the Kassite conquest of Babylon was not just a military success. It also led to profound changes in Babylon's administrative structure. The Kassites did not merely replace the existing administration, they initiated a new administrative approach and a process of cultural integration in the city. This signified both the end of Babylon's old traditions and the emergence of a new order. To consolidate their dominance, the Kassites appointed their own administrators and bureaucrats to the region. This new administration operated differently from Babylon's previous system. The Kassite rule in Babylon included significant military and administrative reforms. While the governance system reflected the Kassites' military structure and strategies, it also aimed to preserve aspects of Babylon's former cultural and social structure. Under Kassite rule, Babylon experienced several important changes. These changes impacted the city's social and cultural framework. The Kassites placed great emphasis on Babylon's temples and cultural centers. This helped preserve the old Babylonian culture while integrating Kassite culture into these lands. The maintenance and restoration of temples became a top priority during this period. The Kassites made efforts to continue the old traditions to keep Babylon's religious and cultural life alive. But the changes during this period were not limited to administration and culture. The Kassite rule also brought alterations in economic and trade areas. By taking control of Babylon's trade routes, the Kassites reorganized regional economic activities. This not only expanded Babylon's trade network, but also strengthened the Kassites' economic power in the region. The Kassite conquest and establishment of a new administration marked the beginning of a significant transformation in Babylon. This new administration represented a crucial turning point in the city's history. While preserving the former grandeur of Babylon, the Kassites also left their own cultural and administrative marks on the city. The changes during this period shaped Babylon's future history and cultural structure. Now, dear friends, we have examined this period following the Kassite conquest of Babylon. In the next section, we will delve deeper into the effects of Kassite rule in Babylon and explore the social, cultural, and economic consequences of this era. To understand the transformations in Babylon during this new period, we will look into how these changes impacted society and the daily life in the city. Dear friends, close your eyes and imagine yourself on the brink of a new era under Kassite rule in the captivating streets of Babylon. After a great conquest, the fate of Babylon was being reshaped, and this process fundamentally altered both the physical and cultural structure of the city. As the Kassites turned a new page in Babylon's history, they sought to rebuild the city and restore its former grandeur. Following the Kassite conquest of Babylon, the first step in the transformation was a comprehensive reconstruction process. Fundamental changes were made to the city's military, administrative, and cultural structures. The Kassites approached this reconstruction not only from a military and administrative perspective, but also in terms of urban planning and architecture. They repaired the old structures, built new buildings and temples, and made efforts to maintain Babylon's classical architectural style. One of the most significant projects of the Kassites during this period was the reconstruction of Babylon's temples. Temples were the center of Babylon's religious and cultural life, and the Kassites placed great importance on the maintenance of these sacred sites. The old temples of Babylon were reorganized under Kassite rule and restored to their former glory. This not only ensured the continuation of religious rituals, but also strengthened the city's religious and cultural life. The Kassites used the temples not only as religious centers, but also as venues for social and cultural events. During Babylon's reconstruction, the Kassites also reshaped the city's social and cultural structure. The reorganization of the social fabric preserved Babylon's old traditions while facilitating the integration of Kassite culture. The Kassites made significant changes to Babylon's social structure, establishing a new social order designed to meet the needs of both the old Babylonian population and the Kassites. Cultural developments were also important during the Kassite period. Cultural activities, including arts and literature, were revitalized. The Kassites, while preserving Babylon's old artistic traditions, also contributed their own cultural elements. Artists in the city created new works, enriching Babylon's cultural heritage. Literature, music, and visual arts flourished during this period. The cultural life of Babylon was reinvigorated, and the city became an important center for arts and culture. These cultural developments also reflected in Babylon's social life. The Kassites preserved the old traditions of Babylon while introducing new rituals and customs. This enriched the city's social life and led to the emergence of diverse cultural interactions. The new cultural order established by the Kassites strengthened the social fabric of the city while increasing cultural diversity. The reconstruction and cultural developments during the Kassite period made a significant contribution to Babylon's history. The Kassites restored the city's former grandeur while leaving their own cultural and administrative marks on the land. This period marked the beginning of an important transformation in Babylon's history, reshaping the city both culturally and socially. Now, dear friends, we have examined these important changes during the Kassite period in detail. In the next section, as we approach the end of this period, we will explore the developments in Babylon's final years and the last major changes in the city. We will discover the final significant transformations in Babylon's history and their impact on the city as we approach the end of the Kassite era. Dear friends, close your eyes and imagine that you are about to return to Babylon's glorious past. After dark days, light is once again illuminating the city, and Babylon is reborn under the leadership of a new ruler. The protagonist of this new era is Nabopolassar, a powerful and visionary leader. Under Nabopolassar's leadership, Babylon's return to its former splendor and the birth of the Neo-Babylonian Empire are among the significant moments in history. By the year 626 BCE, a major change was occurring in Babylon. After the Kassites, there was political instability and a power vacuum in the city. They were searching for a leader to fill this void, and it was at this point that Nabopolassar emerged. Nabopolassar, one of Babylon's local leaders, became a beacon of hope during the city's dark days. Known as a strong military leader and strategist, Nabopolassar symbolized Babylon's renaissance. Under Nabopolassar's leadership, a series of reforms were implemented in Babylon. The first step was to reorganize the city's military and administrative structure. These reforms were aimed at ensuring Babylon's security and re-establishing control over the city. Nabopolassar fundamentally changed the old administrative structure, allowing Babylon to regain its strength. During this process, the old military forces of Babylon were reorganized, and the city's defense systems were strengthened. One of Nabopolassar's most significant achievements was capitalizing on the weakening of the Assyrian Empire to expand Babylon's territory. At that time, the Assyrian Empire was weakened and struggling with internal issues. Nabopolassar took advantage of this weakness by launching successful military campaigns against Assyria. These campaigns not only expanded Babylon's territory, but also ended Assyria's dominance and solidified Babylon's superiority in the region. Under Nabopolassar, Babylon experienced significant development, not only in military terms but also in cultural and economic areas. Major construction projects were initiated in the city. During this period, Babylon's grand temples and palaces were rebuilt, and the city gained a magnificent appearance. Nabopolassar restored important structures in Babylon and added new ones to bring back the city's former splendor. The grand temples of Babylon, especially the Temple of Marduk, were revitalized and became the center of religious rituals in the city. The reconstruction and expansion of Babylon also led to significant changes in the economic realm. Nabopolassar strengthened the city's trade routes and economic infrastructure. This not only consolidated Babylon's economic power in the region, but also increased trade activities in the city. During this period, Babylon became one of the important trade centers in the Middle East, attracting attention with its wealth. One of the most important successes of Nabopolassar's reign was the re-establishment of Babylon as a powerful player on the international stage. Nabopolassar improved diplomatic relations with neighboring countries, increasing Babylon's sovereignty and international prestige. The city became a major power in both military and diplomatic spheres during this period and achieved a balanced position with other empires in the region. Under Nabopolassar's leadership, Babylon's rise was not only a military and administrative success, but also a cultural and economic renaissance. Thanks to Nabopolassar's vision and leadership, Babylon returned to its former splendor, and the foundations of the Neo-Babylonian Empire were laid. The developments during this period marked an important turning point in Babylon's history, and were heralds of the city's future glorious days. Now, dear friends, we have examined in detail how Babylon was reborn under Nabopolassar's leadership and the rise of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. In the next section, we will explore the significant events following this glorious period and the final major changes in Babylon's history. As we approach the end of this period, we will discover the last major transformations in Babylon and their impact on the city. Dear friends, there was a time in the depths of history when Babylon reached its brightest period. The architect of this era was a courageous and visionary leader, Nebuchadnezzar II. Close your eyes and imagine walking through the streets of Babylon, where every corner of this magnificent city is filled with splendor and success. During Nebuchadnezzar II's reign, Babylon shone like a star, and behind this splendor was a great military strategy and cultural renaissance. In 605 BCE, when the young Nebuchadnezzar II ascended the throne of Babylon, the city's fate would change completely. The vision and determination of this young leader would bring Babylon to its most glorious period in history. Nebuchadnezzar's reign is recorded in history as a time filled with military successes and cultural advancements. One of the most important features of this era was Nebuchadnezzar's military strategies and conquests. Nebuchadnezzar's military achievements not only expanded Babylon's borders, but also reshaped its relationships with other regional powers. Nebuchadnezzar conducted successful campaigns against Assyria and Egypt, reinforcing Babylon's military strength and sovereignty. These military successes ensured that Babylon became one of the most powerful forces in the Middle East. Nebuchadnezzar's army operated with great discipline and strategy on the battlefield, proving Babylon's military superiority. However, Nebuchadnezzar's reign was marked by achievements not only in the military realm but also in cultural and architectural areas. During this period, Babylon experienced a significant cultural and architectural renaissance. Nebuchadnezzar meticulously reorganized the city's infrastructure and appearance. The famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon were constructed during this era. These magnificent gardens are considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It is said that the gardens were built on high terraces in Babylon and featured various plants and flowers. These gardens showcased Nebuchadnezzar's cultural vision and introduced the beauty of Babylon to the world. During Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Babylon's greatness and splendor were visible not only through its architectural structures, but also through the city's cultural and artistic activities. The city became a center for artists, scientists, and thinkers. Babylon's grand temples and palaces became hubs of art and culture. Nebuchadnezzar was recognized as a great supporter of science and art and encouraged cultural developments in the city. Another significant aspect of Nebuchadnezzar's era was the developments in Babylon's trade and economy. The city was strategically located at the intersection of major trade routes, giving it substantial economic potential. Nebuchadnezzar strengthened Babylon's trade infrastructure and made the city a central hub of trade in the region. This increased Babylon's economic power and brought great prosperity to the city. Under Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Babylon was not only a period of military and economic success, but also a peak period of cultural achievement. The city made a significant impact both militarily and culturally, and this era, known as Babylon's Golden Age, remains a major turning point remembered throughout history. But every great era has an end, dear friends. As we approach the end of Nebuchadnezzar II's reign, we will examine the challenges Babylon faced and how these challenges affected the city. In the next section, we will explore the difficulties Babylon encountered as this glorious period drew to a close, and the impact of these challenges on the future of the city. Dear friends, we are about to dive into the depths of ancient times and embark on a journey through the enchanting landscapes of Babylon. Babylon's beauty has captivated people throughout history, and among these marvels, the most famous are the Hanging Gardens and the Tower of Babel, both considered wonders of the ancient world. Now let us delve into the secrets and history of these legendary structures. In the heart of Babylon, there were the Hanging Gardens, a structure that adorned the city with a mesmerizing green area. These gardens represented the splendor of Babylon and have intrigued people throughout history as one of the most impressive architectural wonders of the ancient world. The story of the Hanging Gardens is regarded as one of the most captivating tales of ancient architecture. Various accounts exist about how the gardens were constructed, but a common view is that they were built on the high terraces of Babylon and were arranged in an impressive manner. However, dear friends, the secret of the Hanging Gardens lies not only in the gardens themselves, but also in the techniques used in their construction. It is said that the gardens were arranged on high terraces and that irrigation systems ensured these terraces remained green. The techniques and engineering knowledge used in the creation of the Hanging Gardens were applied with great skill by the architects of the time. The gardens were designed as a paradise filled with various types of vegetation, flowers, and trees. Close your eyes and imagine walking in this green paradise. The scent of the colorful flowers, the coolness of the trees, and the mesmerizing environment adorned with every shade of green made a lasting impression on many travelers throughout history. Yet the Hanging Gardens are not just a magnificent garden, but also a legend. There are various accounts about the creation of the gardens, with the most famous being related to the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel was the tallest structure in the city and was an element that complemented the grandeur of the Hanging Gardens. The legend of the Tower of Babel is a story that has captivated the imagination from ancient times to the present day. According to the legend of the Tower of Babel, this tower was built as a reflection of the gods on earth. The tower stood out for its height and impressive architecture, making it one of the tallest structures of its time. However, the tower was renowned not only for its height but also for its complex structure. It is said that the Tower of Babel consisted of many layers, with each layer built in a different architectural style. This legendary structure symbolized the power and splendor of Babylon. The tower represented the divine influence of the gods and Babylon's divine power. However, the legend of the Tower of Babel is also connected to a story of destruction. According to various accounts, the tower incurred the wrath of the gods and was destroyed as a result of a great calamity. This legend illustrates the immense power of Babylon, while also showing how human ambition and the wrath of the gods can be destructive. The destruction of the tower marks a significant turning point in Babylon's history and remains a memory living in the depths of history. Dear friends, the legends of the Hanging Gardens and the Tower of Babel are great symbols reflecting the splendor of Babylon and the depths of its history. These legends shed light on Babylon's past and help us understand the events that occurred throughout the city's history. These masterpieces, showcasing Babylon's grandeur and beauty, are considered some of the greatest wonders of history and allow us to experience the magic of the past. Dear friends, before we delve into the fall of Babylon, let's take a look at the social structure of its people. In this ancient city, just like the Tower of Babel rising into the sky, the social structure was quite complex. Babylonian society had a multi-layered social structure, and each layer was a crucial part of the city's organization and functioning. Now, let us explore the depths of Babylon's class structure and social order and learn about how this ancient society came together. One of the cornerstones of Babylonian society was its distinctly hierarchical class structure. The society was organized within a broad hierarchy, which determined the role and status of every individual. In the city, everyone, from the highest classes to the lowest, had a specific place, and this arrangement was a significant aspect influencing the daily life of the city. At the top of Babylonian society were the royal family and the nobility. These individuals held the highest positions in the city and played a major role in shaping the social order. The royal family wielded not only political power but also religious and cultural authority. The great rulers of Babylon not only maintained the city's order but were also regarded as representatives of the gods on earth. The royal family lived in magnificent palaces and maintained their dominance over the entire city. Below the royal family were high officials and nobles. These individuals assisted the kings in administrative tasks and organized various aspects of society. They were involved in important areas such as agriculture, trade, tax collection, and construction. This class played a critical role in managing the administrative tasks necessary for the orderly functioning of society. Additionally, these high officials were often endowed with wealthy estates and held economic power in the city. Another important class in Babylonian society consisted of free citizens and merchants. This class was at the heart of the city's trade and economic activities. Free citizens had the freedom to run their own businesses and were involved in agriculture, crafts, and trade. Babylon became a strong city economically by leveraging the skills of these merchants and craftsmen. The city's markets offered a vibrant trade environment, and these free citizens were a dynamic part of city life. However, dear friends, one of the most striking aspects of Babylonian social structure was the presence of slaves. Slaves constituted the lowest class in society and were usually war captives or individuals who could not pay their debts. Slaves had a low status in society and lived under economically disadvantaged conditions. They typically worked on agricultural lands, construction projects, or in households. The position of slaves within the social order reflects the rigid and hierarchical nature of Babylonian society. The social structure of Babylon was not only made up of these classes, but was also shaped by social relationships and norms. Hierarchical relationships and social norms determined individuals' behavior and roles. For example, respect for the royal family and high officials was a fundamental pillar of social order and was evident in daily life. Similarly, social differences between slaves and free citizens affected the organization and functioning of society. Dear friends, the class structure and social order of Babylon create a picture that reflects the complexity and richness of this ancient city. This structure plays a crucial role in understanding how Babylon functioned throughout history and how social relationships developed. These details of Babylonian society provide a deep insight into the city's history and offer us an opportunity to trace the traces of the past. Dear friends, as we step into the fascinating world of Babylon, we don't just see a city made of stones and ruins, we encounter a world filled with the roots of wisdom and science. This world showcases how forward-thinking and creative the Babylonians were. Now let's embark on a journey through this ancient civilization's treasure trove of knowledge, exploring its language, literature, astronomy, and mathematics. One of Babylon's greatest legacies in science and culture is undoubtedly their writing system. Although the Babylonians inherited writing from the Sumerians, they perfected it to suit their needs. This writing system, known as cuneiform, was inscribed on clay tablets. The characters of cuneiform were made from wedge-shaped marks and spanned a wide range from simple shapes to complex symbols. Babylon's writing system allowed for the recording of language and housed many important documents throughout history. The Babylonian language itself is known as Akkadian, and it was used in both written and spoken communication. Akkadian had a rich vocabulary and a complex grammar. Literary works in Babylonian not only describe the lifestyle and cultural norms of the time, but also provide deep insights into religion and mythology. Babylonian literature includes beliefs in gods, heroic tales, and mythological events, which help us understand the worldview and values of Babylonian society. One of Babylon's most dazzling achievements in science was its contributions to astronomy. Babylonian astronomers had extraordinary knowledge of observing the heavens. They meticulously tracked stars and planets, showing great precision in organizing time and planning agricultural activities. Babylonian astronomers regularly recorded celestial movements and used this information to create complex astronomical tables. These astronomical observations were crucial not only for scientific knowledge but also for religious rituals and calendar adjustments. The Babylonian calendar was based on both solar and lunar cycles, and it was used to determine the timing of agricultural and other societal activities. Astronomical observations and the information derived from them became fundamental to Babylonian scientific and cultural life. Babylonian mathematics is also an important part of the civilization's scientific achievements. Babylonian mathematicians used a highly developed mathematical system. Their mathematical systems were particularly based on a sexagesimal base 60 numeral system. This system was used in measuring time and angles. The base 60 system laid the foundations for modern timekeeping systems, which is why Babylonian mathematics had a significant historical impact. Babylonian mathematics showed notable achievements, especially in geometry and algebra. The methods used to solve mathematical problems were advanced both practically and theoretically. Babylonian mathematicians were skilled in solving complex problems such as calculating the areas of right triangles and the lengths of hypotenuses. We know that this mathematical knowledge was used in both construction projects and astronomical calculations. Babylonian literature reflects the cultural richness and depth of this ancient civilization. Literature encompasses both religious and secular themes and is filled with Babylonian mythological tales, heroic epics, and epic poetry. One of the most famous Babylonian literary works is the Epic of Gilgamesh. This epic narrates the adventures of a historical figure named Gilgamesh and is a significant part of both Babylonian and world literature. Gilgamesh's story addresses his relationships with the gods, his quest for immortality, and the depths of the human condition. This epic has left a profound literary and cultural legacy. demonstrating the strength and impact of Babylonian literary tradition. Dear friends, Babylon's contributions to language, literature, and science show how forward-thinking and creative this ancient civilization was. These contributions have left a lasting legacy, not only for Babylon itself but for all of humanity. The wisdom and science of Babylon have inspired other civilizations for centuries and continue to shine through the depths of history. Dear friends, imagine a historical winter night, with hundreds of people gathered around a Babylonian temple beneath the stars. A gentle breeze from the depths of the forest stirs the stars in the sky. In the heart of Babylon, the presence of the gods is felt at all times, and the worship rituals keep this sacred city vibrant and full of zeal. The religious structure of Babylon is woven with these sacred connections. At the center of Babylon's religious structure is the supreme god Marduk. Marduk was considered Babylon's most important and powerful deity. His origins trace back to the ancient Sumerian god Enlil, but in Babylon his majesty and divine power were elevated to such heights that he was known as the protector of Babylon. Marduk was regarded as the king of the gods, and his name became synonymous with the grandeur and magnificence of Babylon. The traditions of worshipping Marduk formed the foundation of Babylon's religious life. Annual grand ceremonies were held to express devotion to Marduk. These ceremonies were typically conducted with great splendor and enthusiasm. During these events, the public would express their love and respect for Marduk through various ritual dances, music, and prayers. Marduk's worship traditions are especially significant because of his role as Babylon's protective deity. The largest temple complex in Babylon, known as the Esagila, was dedicated to Marduk. This temple, situated prominently in the city center, was a major focal point. Within the temple there were altars, statues, and sacred objects dedicated to Marduk. His statue was located in the most sacred part of the temple, and people performed various ceremonies in front of it. Religious rituals in Babylon were not only about worshiping the gods but also became an integral part of social life. For example, the annual Akitu festival was a major ceremony to invoke Marduk's protection for Babylon. This festival was held to celebrate the events of the year and the agricultural cycles. During the festival, kings, priests, and the public performed various rituals to express their belief in Marduk's divine power. Special ritual objects symbolizing Marduk's divine power were used, prayers were recited, and music played during the festival. At the end of the festival, the people of Babylon would return to their homes in peace, believing that Marduk would protect their city throughout the year. Such rituals reflect the deep devotion and faith of the Babylonian people toward Marduk. Babylonian religious structure encompasses not only Marduk but also many other gods. The relationships among the gods are shaped by mythological narratives, which hold significant places in Babylonian social and cultural life. One of Marduk's most well-known mythological stories is his battle against the chaos goddess Tiamat, through which he established cosmic order. This story is a crucial mythological narrative that depicts Marduk as not only the protector of Babylon, but also the maintainer of the universe's order. Marduk's mythological tales illustrate how profound and complex Babylon's belief system was. The wars of the gods, creation myths, and other mythological events hold a prominent place in Babylonian literature, reinforcing the religious beliefs and cultural values of the people. Dear friends, the religious structure of Babylon and the traditions of worshipping Marduk reflect the spiritual depth and cultural richness of this ancient civilization. The majesty of Marduk and Babylonian religious rituals are among the most significant aspects of the city's history. These rituals shaped not only religious beliefs but also social life and cultural values. In the next section, we will examine the fall of Babylon and its subsequent effects. We will explore the changes that occurred after Babylon's grandeur and their impact on history. Until we meet in the next section, dear friends. Dear friends, imagine that in the fertile lands of Mesopotamia, as the first light of the sun touches the earth, agricultural activities begin in the serene valleys of Babylon. Babylon, in these fertile lands where agriculture thrived, was not only a city but also an economic hub. Agriculture was the backbone of Babylon's economic life, and the fertility of these lands ensured the city's wealth and prosperity. Agricultural activities in Babylon began in the alluvial soils of Mesopotamia. The irrigation systems provided by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers made agriculture possible in these lands. Fields were irrigated with water channels, growing grains such as wheat, barley, and oats, as well as various vegetables and fruits. Babylonian agricultural experts perfected these irrigation systems to increase crop yield and meet the city's food needs. Agriculture not only provided for the city's population but also became a major source of trade. Surplus products were sent to other regions, expanding Babylon's trade network. This role of agriculture was considered one of the fundamental elements of Babylon's economic strength. Babylon's trade network made this ancient city not just an agricultural center but also a trading capital. Babylon was strategically located at a crossroads of trade routes in Mesopotamia, serving as a crucial bridge between east and west, north and south. The city was in a strategic position where these trade routes converged. Babylon had close trade relations with important Mesopotamian trade centers such as Ur and Lagash. These relationships allowed Babylon to export not only agricultural products but also valuable minerals, textiles, and luxury goods to other regions. Particularly, Babylon's stone craftsmanship and textiles held significant importance in the regional trade network. Babylon's trade relations facilitated the entry of a wide variety of products into the city. Specifically, marble, precious stones, and metal materials from distant regions were processed by Babylonian craftsmen, becoming part of the city's luxury consumption. Babylon also received luxury goods from outside Mesopotamia, particularly products from Egypt and Anatolia. Another important aspect of Babylon's economic structure was the production of artistic and functional products by craftsmen. Babylon was renowned for metalworking, stone carving, and textile production. Notably, Babylon's metalworking provided high-quality products for jewelry and weapons. Craftsmen showcased these products in the city's markets, attracting the interest of both locals and visitors. The combination of craft products with trade enhanced Babylon's economic power. The city created a broad market by trading the products made by its craftsmen with other cities within Mesopotamia and distant regions. This trade not only promoted economic prosperity but also encouraged cultural exchange. Craft and agricultural products from different regions came together in Babylon, contributing to the city's cultural richness. Dear friends, Babylon's economic activities are crucial elements that ensured the city's wealth and prosperity. Agriculture, trade, and craftsmanship form the foundation of Babylon's economic structure, highlighting the city's significant role in history. Babylon's agricultural systems, trade routes, and craftsmen demonstrate that this ancient civilization was not only an economic center, but also a cultural and trading capital. In the next section, we will address the fall of Babylon and the impact of this decline on history. We will explore the changes that occurred after Babylon's grandeur and their effects on history. Until we meet in the next section, dear friends. Dear friends, once a shining city in its splendor, Babylon was swept into the great currents of history. The rise of the Persian Empire not only changed Babylon but also transformed the political and cultural landscape of all Mesopotamia. Let us now delve into how this great transformation occurred, how Babylon came under Persian control, and what followed this transition. A close look at history books reveals that the rise of the Persian Empire is a story of power revolution. In the early 6th century BC, under the leadership of the Persians, a great empire began to be established. This empire, by conquering and expanding upon the Medes Empire, became one of the greatest powers of the East. Cyrus the Great, one of the most influential figures of this period, laid the foundations of the Persian Empire under his leadership. Cyrus the Great was notable not only for his military victories but also for his diplomacy and smart strategies. As he expanded his influence among the city-states and empires of Mesopotamia, Babylon's power also became a threat. Babylon had become a major target for the Persians. This target was central to the Persian strategic plans, and Cyrus's desire to conquer Babylon marked the beginning of a major military campaign. In 539 BC, a significant change occurred on the historical stage with the Persians launching a major campaign against Babylon. Cyrus the Great advanced with a powerful army to conquer Babylon. The city was subjected to prolonged sieges and political and military pressures. Cyrus's military strategies allowed him to breach Babylon's walls and capture the city. Once known as one of the most powerful cities in world history, Babylon had now become a part of the Persian Empire. This conquest was a turning point for Babylon. When the city fell under Persian control, many changes took place. The Persians made efforts to preserve Babylon's wealth and cultural heritage. However, they also began to integrate their own administrative systems into the city. Persian rule reshaped Babylon, both culturally and politically. Babylon's entry into Persian control represented a significant change in the city's history. After the conquest, the Persians reorganized the city and the region under their administration. Successors of Cyrus, such as Darius and Artaxerxes, continued the regional administration of Babylon, which became an important province of the Persian Empire. Under Persian rule, Babylon experienced a major political and economic transformation. The Persians made efforts to preserve Babylon's cultural heritage and religious structures, but also reorganized the city's administrative and economic framework. During this period, Babylon continued to be an important cultural and trade center within the Persian Empire. While striving to maintain the city's former grandeur, the Persians strengthened intercity trade and administration within the empire's vast borders. Babylon under Persian rule became a symbol of a historical turning point. The city was now part of a vast empire beyond its former independent kingdom status. This transition significantly impacted both Babylon and Mesopotamia's history. The Persians continued to maintain Babylon as a major cultural and trade center, while also transforming the city's social and economic structures to fit their empire. Dear friends, Babylon's entry into the Persian Empire marks a major turning point in the city's history. This conquest led to significant changes in Babylon, not only militarily and politically but also culturally and economically. While the Persians sought to preserve Babylon's rich heritage, they made the city a part of their empire. Babylon's Persian rule reflects this important period in our history, leaving lasting effects on Mesopotamia's cultural and political landscape. Dear friends, we have explored how Babylon shone on the stage of history for centuries and how it underwent a remarkable transformation. Babylon, like a star in the heart of Mesopotamia, captured the world's attention with its magnificent walls, colossal structures, and impressive cultural heritage. The city etched its name in history with legendary landmarks like the Hanging Gardens and the Tower of Babylon. However, history is not just about grandeur and victories. The final great period of Babylon tells the story of an empire's change and cultural transformation with the rise of the Persian Empire. The Persians' campaign against Babylon altered the city's fate and brought about a significant cultural evolution. During this period, Babylon, under Persian rule, gained a new direction both economically and culturally. This great transformation process of Babylon shows us how history is in a constant flow, with each era leaving its own marks. Babylon's glorious past and its transformation under Persian dominance highlight the richness and diversity of our history. The legacy of this ancient city continues to have cultural and historical significance even today. Reflecting on Babylon's history, we have seen how this once glorious city became a cultural and economic center, how it underwent transformation, and what lessons these processes offer us. History is not just a reflection of the past, but also plays a crucial role in shaping the present and the future. Babylon's grand historical journey reminds us of the wisdom, cultural heritage, and historical events that come from the depths of the past. Each part of this story shows how powerful and influential a once existing civilization can be. Dear friends, thank you for joining us on this journey. In our exploration of history's depths, we have uncovered the grandeur of Babylon and the impacts of the Persian Empire. The splendor and transformation of this ancient city once again demonstrate how rich and multifaceted our history is. Remember, history is not only the story of the past, but also plays an essential role in shaping the present and the future. As we part ways with the peace of understanding each piece of our history better, I bid you farewell. In our next video, we will set sail for new discoveries about other great historical events and civilizations. Thank you for being with us, and see you in the next video, dear friends. Until we meet in the depths of history, goodbye.